for coping in a high performance world, all focused on youth sports. I'm your host, Todd Arkell, and joining me today is Danielle Martin, owner of True Mindsets. How are you, Danielle?
I'm well, thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm excited for this.
Yes, so am I. And I mean, it's really funny. I'd ask you to introduce yourself, but I've got to I got to tell you, and for those listening, when everybody talks about, play multiple sports, be a multi-sport athlete, I look at your resume of athletics and I am absolutely mind blown. I'm going to read this off. So, California State Athlete of the Year, we won't say the year. State National Champion surfer, former professional surfer, UCLA collegiate softball player, dirt bike racer, Brazilian jiu-jitsu black belt, world, national, international, and Pan American champion. How does that happen? That's a journey.
It's a great journey. It's fun to hear it actually played back like that. I just feel like it was just one at a time and all in all the ways I could be, always.
That's amazing. So I think about I came across you online through Walter Beatty, who's somebody who I follow. And, I was asking Walter, who are some people I can talk to? And your name came right to mind because I think you collaborated on a project with him. And I was reading, and you're a Southern California person. Were you born and raised? Have you always been in Southern California?
I have not. So I was born in Idaho, and gosh, I think I was 4, maybe 5, left there. My parents, very, very young, they separated, and my dad ended up on the island of Kauai, where I spent a lot of my childhood, which is wonderful, and also in Dana Point. So I've kind of had the best of both worlds, I would say.
And that's where the surfing comes in.
Yes, surfing comes in on both coasts.
Yes, I know. But I remember being on the Big Island and going out to the North Shore, and couldn't believe the fearlessness. Some of those waves were I couldn't even. There's not a chance you'd even get me out there. It looks crazy. So you draw some inspiration from Ken Revisa, another Southern California person, and he comes up a lot. Some of the guests I've talked to, reference Heads Up Baseball as a big thing. And one of the things, I'll probably mess up his quote, but was it was about be where you are, right? Like, and did you ever meet him? Did you get a chance to meet him?
Oh, I met him several times. He was in the dugout with us at UCLA. Our
Oh,
coach went
wow.
out and got him, and he was a part of our team. And he brought a lot of security, I don't know. Ken was a connector. He could connect with you. You felt that he genuinely cared. It wasn't this, anxiety was not something that you felt he read in a book on page 12 and just regurgitated to you on how to deal with it. I just feel like Ken was a listener, and he could hear where we were at any given moment. And even if he didn't have the perfect thing to say, or sometimes people say something and then the other person doesn't know how to go out and translate that. I was one of those, but it was just his presence. Ken had an incredible presence.
So he inspires you. Is that how you started down this path?
It's not. I have Chuck Norris group are my mentors, and they were like, Reggie Cochran, who's kind of Chuck's right-hand guy, was like, you have this gift and you should go put it to work. And I'm like, what do you mean? I don't have the PhD and all that. He goes, no. I said gift, go give it. And I was pretty intimidated. I think a lot of us have the tendency to go to I don't know if I'll be good enough, and what if this, and I went down the what if rabbit hole right away. And they're like, we're not asking. We're telling you to go do it. And I was like, okay. And, I was teaching jujitsu to some celebrities at the time and mentoring some pretty high level athletes through jujitsu. I had an NBA player like, hey, I want to learn jujitsu too. And I was working at this place out of LA, ton of pro athletes moving through there. Pretty much that's all that's moving through there. And they would ask me stuff, and I'd always have something to share with them. And it was kind of paralleling what was on the mats. Um, you know, I feel like being a black belt is, it's just a white belt who didn't quit. And yeah, there's some advanced stuff as you move up the ladder of that ranking system, is just hours and tears and sweat and beat downs nonstop, a lot of adversity on the mats, especially for a female. But you know, I started letting coaches know what I was doing, that I was doing that. And I got quite a few uber superstar baseball players that started working with me. And I set out on this journey and just really being somebody that would stand still long enough with them, pace along with them, slow them down. I have a certification in breath instruction. One of my dear friends, Stig Severinsen, is the world record breath holder. He held his breath 22 minutes, 10 seconds. He has a company called Breathology. So Stig's been around, you know, wandering around my life. I've assisted him on some of his breath holds as well. Um, I worked in really high level personal security for a while. I used
Right.
my black belt to go around and empowering young girls, inspiring confidence, situational awareness, talking to people about intuition and how to not only listen to it, but to hear it and obey it. So I kind of took all these different pieces, put them together, and gave them to these athletes, laid it over a game like baseball. And I just think I like Bruce Lee said, always have the student mindset, always be learning, and there's something to learn from each and every single person that crosses our paths, especially the young kids playing a game like baseball. I learn every day. I work from the MLB on down every single day with every single level of athlete. So I feel really blessed.
It sounds incredibly serendipitous, but I think based on your background, just listening, I'm like going, wow, lots of things to draw upon, lots of different experiences to draw upon as opposed to one thing. I want to touch on the breath stuff because for people that, as we're going through this, and I hope listeners are young kids, and I hope they're also their parents. Maybe the parents need to breathe a little bit in the stands as well. That's
Oof.
another story. But we could. I'm trying to think. I was trying to think about that. Could be a great episode, just talking about how the parents. It's funny. My youngest plays a high level of baseball. He's in search of you know, a, a spot south of the border. And as a Canadian kid, it's a little more difficult, but certainly achievable with the effort. And I don't really get too up and down watching him play. You're excited for him, but just recently he's been competing in the regionals, and now they made the Final Four for provincials, which would be like state championships for high school baseball. And I find myself with like butterflies watching him play for high school. Like I'm going, why is that? It seems like for a lot of people in Canada, high school baseball is not as important as it is in America. However, it just seems like for them, they're having so much fun, so much joy playing against guys that they play against in other teams, or guys who are teammates who go to different schools. And it seems like there's a different vibe to the whole thing. So going back to that, so I think, parents probably need a little bit of this as well. But what are the components you think make up sort of a mindfulness practice? Is it breath, breath, meditation? But what do you think is a good recipe for somebody who's just getting started and wants to kind of dip their toe in this world?
Well, mindset is important for each and every one of us. Mindset is just our brains in action. That's mindset. It's our brains in action. Because for me, you know, the conversations are great, but I always felt as an athlete that I could have great conversations, but how do I how to what we spoke about? How do I how to it? The thing about breath being kind of a, I don't know, we're a pretty pertinent aspect of anything, of any type of performance, but even just being, because we take about 20 to 30,000 breaths a day. And if we could learn to use some of those breaths and understand why we're doing that, breath is our greatest reflex as a human being. It's our greatest reflex. So if I hold my breath my attention immediately goes right here. It brings me to present quicker than anything else because it's my greatest reflex. And without me taking that breath or releasing the carbon dioxide from my body, I'll pass out. I could die without my breath. So it's our lifeline. It is the greatest and quickest way. It's our greatest reflex, but it's the quickest way to bring you to the present moment. So the inhales, controlled exhales, the ways in which we use those breaths, we actually have the power to shift our nervous systems. Sympathetic, fight or flight. That's that kind of breathing from here up. Like you see a lot of pictures doing it. People do it when we get anxious, stressed, depressed. We're like this. We're like this. We're down. We're tucked in. Everything gets tighter, a little tougher to breathe. And we have the power with our breath when we do it a certain way, when we utilize it, to shift from from the sympathetic to the parasympathetic, fight or flight to the rest and digest, the relaxed. When I'm relaxed, my body actually has a better opportunity to work for me, to show up for me. Also, I think clear. I have the ability to think about what it is I'm going to do, whether I'm going to compete in the midst of this moment I don't feel the greatest. So there's another one. We are the only creatures on the planet that can think greater than how we feel. So I have players come to me sometimes. I'm overthinking. I said, how amazing. And they're all, what? The people tell me not to overthink all the time. I said, it's okay. You're overthinking, but what are you overthinking? They're like, I don't know. I'm all, it's beautiful that we can overthink actually. So how about I overthink the fact that I feel awful because I might have been 0 for 4 yesterday, but today I'm grateful. I'm full of greatness. I'm going to take my greatness and go move it into the space of baseball. Wow. How blessed am I to have the opportunity to be in the lineup again today, to go give my greatness in the form of offense and just allow my feelings to be there, not let them steal from me, not let my feelings steal from me, because yes, they don't feel good, but I remind them again, sports, baseball especially, does not care how you feel, does not care what you want. I want to hit. I feel this way. Baseball goes, I don't care. What are you going to do about it? So mindset is our brain in action. Breath gets us clear. Now I'm able to identify what it is, what are the next actions I need to take. And I organize the athletes. Once they're organized and they understand these concepts, tools, assets, and how to use them, utilize, put them into action, gratitude is being grateful, but it's the action of being grateful. And it's understanding what that means to each person. Confidence may be this big international word, but what makes me confident and what makes you confident are different things. Being aggressive. Aggressive never won a baseball game. It didn't. Offense wins baseball games. When kids know how to move through a space offensively and they're organized and they're breathing and they're aware of their breath, then they're aggressive. Baseball is not won by aggression. It's not the game that aggressive wins. It's offense that we're seeing and we're mistaking it for aggressive. So when kids understand action, thought, overthinking, my feelings, I care. Baseball doesn't care. Big difference. And also, when you are moving up the ladder to being and becoming a high level athlete, it's not if, it's when you fail, get knocked down, are intimidated, are afraid of all kinds of things, and you need support. We all do. It's not help. I don't go around helping players, people, anything. Who am I to help? But I support. I know how to do that. I know how to listen. I know how to hear you. I know how to connect with you. I know how failure feels. I've lost world championships. I didn't just show up and win them. I've been I've been knocked down many times. I've been picked up and dropped literally on my head. And half my brain right now is not functioning still. They tell me it'll be 100, but I'm giving you 100 of the 50 that is functioning right now.
Right.
I know it's not perfect how I talk. My words twist. I could isolate and say, oh, you know what? I'll do this podcast when I'm back to 100. I can wait and let that time go by and assume I have that time. But time is precious, and what we have is right now. And my breath tells me that every day when I take a breath in. We never know what will happen in this life. But for the kids out there that are aiming high, have dreams of playing at that next level, you will need support. And that takes courage to say, hey, yeah, I do need that. And it takes courage to get back up when you fall down. And parents, we need support too. I'm an only parent of two boys, two high level athletes. And it's been very challenging. It's been so scary at times, lonely at times, dark at times. Times I'm going, how do I hemorrhage any more money for all these things, trying to keep my kids, keeping them up with the Joneses is what it seems like sometimes. But just don't quit. Lean in. There is support. We all need it. Doesn't matter who you are. You need it.
I appreciate you sharing that. That's incredibly. I can feel the passion there. And you know what? You're right. We need support. I can remember years ago, even just with my son with hockey when he was playing hockey, and one of the parents saying, "We can't afford to be here this weekend. Our bank account is overdrawn. I got 3 kids playing high level hockey. I don't know how we're gonna, make our mortgage. All these things." And I was, just listened. I didn't know what to say, but just listened because I think they needed to get it out. And I felt to myself, it really explains sometimes, especially in Canada with hockey, why there's bad behavior by parents in the stands sometimes. And I feel like there's this overwhelming stress from all the external things that are going on, trying to get them there to the game, having to leave work early, whatever it is, the financial pressures, everything that goes with it. And if their child isn't performing well, or they're not getting the playing time, that you see them sometimes react in bad ways. And maybe we do need to, right? So it is one of those things that just over time became evident to me. And part of why I wanted to start this, and it's funny how you said, like, just keep going, don't quit, how you kind of move forward. My first guest is a gentleman by the name of Diamond Hall, and he's the mental performance coach for the Baltimore Orioles. I met him in 2017, and we started talking about this concept. And he worked at Wright State at the time, and I'm just a guy with a passion for trying to figure out things different. And I said to him, I go, you know what? Like, I thought it had only been a couple of years since I was talking about doing this. And I realized I let 7 years go by just talking
Mm-hmm.
and not taking any action. So, anyways, so I'm taking action, and I'm so incredibly, I have gratitude for the people who I put it out there to people in the world. And I'm just amazed by the caliber of guests who have wanted to come on. It's been great. And, yeah, anyways, I'm kind of almost at a loss for words, because listening to you talk there that just absolutely hit me right in the heart. So,
Thank
what
you.
do you think makes your approach to mental performance unique? I think you might have answered it in the last one, that you're there, you listen, support, but in your words, what makes you unique over other people?
I can really hear people, and I meet them where they are, and we work from exactly where they are. I don't come in just dropping, tools. I kind of describe it like this. If, let's say, if you're like, hey, Danielle, I want to show you this dream house I have, and I want to build it. And I said, okay, let's go look at it. And I looked at it, this beautiful, giant, big mansion. And I said, okay. And we went to Home Depot. And I said, okay, I know all the tools you're going to need to build that house. And if I drove you after we bought all the tools and I just dropped you off in a driveway and threw the tools out there, you would be calling me going, hey, which one do I use first? And how do I use it? And then what? And then what? Like, I need some help here. I need some support in building this great, beautiful house. Hey, thanks for the tools, but I don't know how to use these and what are the best ways to use them and in what order. So I can't just, some people do this. They get on the phone, they just start, you should be confident. You shouldn't feel that. You need to not be this until you do that. It's just not realistic. I've been an athlete all my life, and I've talked to a lot of mental coaches, and I ask my big leaguers a lot, why do you keep coming back? I have some guys I'm going on 8 years working with. They've been all stars. They've signed big contracts. They have multiple golden gloves. They've done all the things. And I'm like, so why do you need me? They're like, well, I still need the support. And this game gets harder. It's not getting easier. It's not like I thought it was. And I said, okay. And I said, so why me, not the next guy? And they're like, because you have a great way of articulating the how to. You have patience. You'll say it 20, 30 times if we need you to. There's no judgment. You're honest. And you know what else you'll say is you'll say, I don't know. Let me call you back. And I do. And I surround myself with people like Stig Severinsen, Barry Bonds, if I have to call him. And he has always been more than generous to be someone I can lean into. Incredible human being. I see his side I'm sure a lot of the world has not seen, but he's one of the most incredible human beings I've ever met. He's a genius when it comes to the game of baseball, a legit genius.
I would agree with that.
He's a genius, and he's got a giant heart, and his reasons why he doesn't want to put it out there for everybody to see there are his reasons. But I don't know goes a long way with people because it allows them to trust you because we don't know everything. We are human beings. We are imperfect creatures moving through the perfect space of whatever we're doing. Baseball's a perfect game. We're imperfect moving through that space, parents as well as the players. And I always say baseball's kind of like Victoria's Secret.
I
What's,
can't wait for this.
yeah, bras and underwear. Who knew? But who's Victoria and what's the secret? No one knows. No one knows. Why is baseball a mental game? No one knows. I do. And I'll tell you how I figured this out. I had a stroke and died and came back. And I have been given downloads that have literally blown the little piece of my mind that is still there. But I've been writing it all down and drawing pictures because I had to learn to write again. But I started thinking like about 2 weeks ago, and I'm like, Victoria's Secret, nobody knows. I'm like, baseball actually doesn't have defense. It says it does, but it really doesn't. You've never heard somebody walk away from a game, a baseball game, and go, wow, defense won that game. No one does. Said no one ever. A lot of people, oh, I don't get baseball. It's just kind of boring. I'm like, no, it's not. It's cerebral.
I agree.
And a lot of human beings, the majority of the population is pretty insecure. Look at our world today. You can really see it now. But insecurity breeds defense. So people identify with defensive games that have defense, like defense is popping out. It's offense and it's defense, but baseball, really only the offense sticks out because there really only is offense. Offense wins the games of baseball. Offense wins the game in baseball. A pitcher, baseball says a pitcher is playing a defensive position. No, he's not. He is the most offensive. He has the most violent job on the field, as a matter of fact. But baseball calls his position defense. So therein lies some of the mental aspects that really trip people up. Baseball trips you up before the coaches trip you up, before lack of opportunity trips you up. And on down the line, we could have a whole podcast on each one of those topics. But baseball's like Victoria's Secret.
I love it. Sounds like a
I know it
title of a
sounds
book.
crazy.
Come on, get that locked down. Get that URL. Baseball's like Victoria's Secret.
Yeah.
You know what? You're not. I'll tell you, it's funny. That's an absolute, I mean, outside of being a good analogy, you're right about when I think about the offensive nature, right? Everybody says you listen to, the pundits, defense and pitching wins championships. I don't
No,
know. I don't,
it does
but I
not.
agree. I agree with you and hadn't thought about it that way that, yeah, pitchers are offensive. I mean, they're attacking the hitter. They're
They are
not
throwing an object that could kill you at speeds in which could kill
100%.
you into a personal space again and again and again and again and again. And music lives between the notes. When a pitcher understands and knows his one job, and he knows his music, because those notes, if a C note was a slider and a B note was a fastball and a D note was a curve or a knuckleball, whatever you want, you get it. The music lives between the notes, so it's not the balls he's throwing, the pitches. It's the process in which he goes about delivering and executing those pitches. So the music in life lives between the notes. There's a lot of reasons why baseball is a mental game, and nobody ever answers that. Oh, well, it just is. Okay. Well, guess what? Baseball is also probably the hottest and most beautiful woman any of those guys will ever date, and she's psychologically abusive. And they have to learn to have a relationship with her. So a lot of times I'm just coaching, I'm relationship coaching because it's the individual's relationship with the game and everything surrounding the game.
That's well put. Well put. So it's funny when you said about people, the game being cerebral, and a lot of people will say to me, I get same thing. I don't like baseball. It's
Mm-hmm.
slow, and I always
Mm-hmm.
say, oh, so you're not that intelligent, and then grin because I don't want them to punch me in the face. But that's truly how I feel because there is so much going on in a game, and I can take back even would go on trips with my son every summer around his birthday. We'd go to multiple parks, minor league, major league, whatever, and go watch games. And we were sitting in Pittsburgh in the outfield. Max Scherzer was pitching. I can't think about who was hitting. I think his nickname was El Cafe, and I can't remember his real name right now. But anyways, he had pitched, I don't know, probably had a 10, 11 pitch at bat. And I said to my son, where are the fielders? And he told me. I said, where's Max pitching? And he told me, just based on the alignment of everything. And then after all these pitches, I said, he's going to hit a bomb. And the next pitch, he put one right over our heads into the Allegheny River. And my son looked at me like, what? I go, he saw everything. He saw everything. And he was waiting, right? So there's so much going on in a game, from player to player, and guys in the dugout watching what's going on, trying to process that for themselves. It's a beautiful game. I mean, it really is from that perspective.
It's a lot like jujitsu as well, because it's technique and leverage that beats strength. It's technique and leverage that beats strength. And
And
when I can
understanding
see
how to
that,
use that leverage.
yes, understanding what their leverage is and how to generate it. And technique, it's not always mechanics. A lot of players, my mechanics are off. No, it's not. You're a mechanic of hitting once you pick up a bat. Now, how you shape the space you move through with that bat, the choices you make, the choices you execute, what you execute, your balance. I cannot win a fight if I'm not balanced. I mean, I could get lucky, but if I'm balanced, it's going to be very tough to beat me. A hitter is in a fighting stance, whether he knows it or not. And that pitcher's throwing a punch at you. You need him to. You need him to initiate that battle, that fight, that interaction. But your punch hitting is a punch too. I'm here and I'm here. And I'm actually making fists. They don't realize they're holding fists here. And I'm almost blocking punching. It's martial arts. And it's going to be tough to beat these guys when they're balanced and when they have that in their mind, and we hit from the ground up. So if I step into balance and I know my job and I'm breathing and I'm balanced and I'm resetting between every pitch and my music is offensive, then it's going to be tough to beat me, because now I've absorbed probability from the equation that is 4 balls, 3 strikes. It's a mathematical equation. I need to absorb the probability before I ever get to that box. Preparation, executing approaches. What is my job? A lot of people don't know it. Your job is not to hit the ball hard as a hitter. Look at the size of those guys. Please go hit it soft for me. That'd be a bigger challenge for you. So the language, the words matter. Our body's listening. It wants to show up for you. We have a subconscious that resonates with the mind's eye. There's a difference between go look for strikes versus go attack. Go attack fastball, make adjustments to anything else. Because then I'm always ready, always balanced. What does ready even mean? Go get ready. I ask players, what does your ready mean? Could you articulate ready for me? What do you mean? Exactly. So let's do that. Let's define your ready. Once you do that for a player, now they have a real preparation, approach, execution. They know their job. Now we move through that space. Now they've got gold in their pocket. Where does the support come in? Because when we run, sometimes gold falls out. When we run mentally, emotionally, physically, gold can fall out of our pocket. I can see that gold on the floor. So I run over, I grab it, polish it up, and go put it back in your pocket. Go spend it. Breathe. Relax, get clear, calm, cool, collected. Parasympathetic nervous system is the rest and digest. I used to be like, what does that mean? But you know what it means, digest. We're digesting energy, using it for us so it doesn't get used against us.
Sounds easy.
Never easy, but we can simplify that process and we can let you understand it. We can let it land for you. I can teach you how to do that. I can teach you how to hear and listen to your own body so that when you're an injured pitcher coming back from Tommy John, like so many are right now, and understanding that your job is not velocity, and that if you listen and hear your body and you respect it, and if it says I'm 60 and you take 100 of the 60 and you do not try to take more, guess what? You'll be healthy. You'll actually have a great career when you are the boss, when you are driving and your hands are on the steering wheel and not everyone else's who wants you to do this. Guess what? Or expects you to do this. Your body says what you can and cannot do. And when you learn how to hear it and listen to it, it will reward you. And you actually can be competitive without being 100% or without throwing 100 miles an hour. Example, Greg Maddux.
Yep.
There's a lot we could talk about, you know this, but I'll leave you with that.
Perfect. Well, we're almost at the end. I have a bunch of questions that I call them rapid fire questions, which I like to just get pop quizzes. So we'll see how this goes. What's one book you could recommend for people to read right now?
Legacy.
Who's the author?
Is it
That's okay.
Is it James Kerr? No, James Kerr. It's about the All Blacks. It's brilliant. I have a lot of books, but that one is just, and this one's right here. So let's say this one.
Chop wood, carry water. Cool.
Brilliant one, and it's little. There you go.
Quick read. I know that's, today's, when you talk about youth, nobody reads anymore. It's all on their phone. It's a little amazing. So the smaller the book, maybe the easier for them to pick it up.
Less intimidating.
Yes. So what's one piece of advice, you would give teenage you? So look back and think, is there anything you might have wanted to know back then?
Yes. Have the courage to ask for help, ask for support. Something's not wrong with you. You deserve that. You are worthy of that. You have a purpose. You are very important. You don't need to know your purpose yet, but you do need to keep taking steps forward and lean in. It's okay. I wish I could say that to my 15 or 16-year-old self.
Great. Best advice you ever received, and who provided it?
My Little League coach. He said, you can do anything you ever want to do. You're coachable. You're strong. You're confident. And I love that. And that's why I draft you every year. When I asked, why me? I was the only little girl in a league of 400 boys. And he said things to me that to this day I'm very grateful for.
That's awesome. One small change somebody could make to their daily routine that could start making a big difference in them moving to a more mindful approach.
Conscious breathing. Learning
Perfect.
how to use your breath.
Perfect. Danielle, you have me all emotional today. Um, you really speak from the heart. And I want to thank you so much for being a guest. And those that are listening, please like and subscribe where podcasts are available. Thank you so much.